I'm going to figure out as I go how I'm going to be saying this to you in a way that is delicate. But probably in the end, I'm just going to be blunt and say it the way it is, because I think it's important for me to know that you fully understand the power and the gravity of what I'm teaching you, the drama of the event I'm about to describe with you, and how to bring it back into your own lives. So let's begin with the story that introduces the story. Once upon a time, there was a young lady. She grew up in Poland in a town called Krakow, and in 1916, because of the nature of the war, of World War One, she moved to Vienna. So the story goes, as you probably heard this many, many times, she was shocked because Vienna was literally a different world, even though technically it was all part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. But Vienna that then was a cosmopolitan, progressive modern city. And she finds herself for the first time confronting what, in her eyes, were modern Jews. And the rabbi in front of her was, in her eyes, what we would call today, with a negative lilt, like a modern Orthodox. I'm saying it now in the negative sense that people use it with. And he did not like this guy. Had a little beard, little mustache, some kind of like a cross between Charlie Chaplin and Stalin, and did not know how to deal with this. His name was Rabbi Dr. Moshe Flesh. Sounds like a spare part from a zombie movie. And all in all, having just been completely and totally inappropriate to a man who is a total tzaddik, a Talmud of Rosh Hashanah for Hirsch, she comes in judgmental until he started to speak. And he told over the story of Yehudis. Yehudis, as you all know, is the heroine of the Chanukah story. I'm going to be repeating the story of Yehudis my way, a different version, and it's going to be extremely shocking and hopefully extremely relevant. She's hearing the story. She's hearing it is being taught to him in the language of female empowerment, the power of women to be able to create a revolution, to start new things, to make a change. And he taught it in a way that was very respectful and very, very beautifully empowering for her. And she went back home to Krakow and she shared this story. And this, as far as I know, was the first story told in formal Jewish education and history, was the story of Yehudis. Now, you will know the story of Yehudis. Some of you even have it in your coloring books from back home. I found a medrash that says over the story in a way that was so shocking and so obviously cannot be discussed with children and so obviously relevant to 2023 that I want to share with you because unfortunately we need to hear it. So how does the story begin? As you all know, it begins with a wonderful woman by the name of Yehudis. Let's just imagine that she was incredibly beautiful. I have no reason to prove that she wasn't. But one thing we know for sure, she was the it woman, meaning she was the number one woman in Klal Yisrael that every yeshiva bacha wanted to marry. She came from the best family. Her father was one of the Gedolim, was the Kohen Gadol, who was also a famous rap singer. His name was Matityahu. And she had 5 brothers, each one a bigger tzaddik than the next. Between them, they called themselves the Maccabees. They had a cappella group. And what the oldest was Yehuda, Judah the Maccabee, fearless and bold, behind him an army of young men and old. And his 4 brothers, Yonatan, Shimon, Elazar, and Yochanan. Okay, these are the 4 brothers. And these 5 brothers were, that's it. Now, obviously, once again, in your coloring books, we all know that these people were, had strong, handsome, pectoral muscles absolutely everywhere. The point is that it's not true because tomorrow night you guys are going to be saying Alanissim, so am I. We're going to be finding out that Hashem gave Rabim Biat Ma'atim, the many, meaning the Greek army, Biat Ma'atim against the small, tiny Jewish army. And then we're going to say, Gibayrim Biat Hashem, okay? The mighty Greeks against the weedy, pathetic Jewish army. So that recreates the narrative that now you have to think of Judah the Maccabee as something like Yeshiva Bacha from the Meohr with a little armpity beard and like a thing. He could barely carry his Gemara, but he had a fire inside of him. And that's what we're going to see in a moment. This fire is going to create the greatest revolution in Jewish history. No one did what he did, except with the exception of Mordechai and Esther, since the Churban, and this is going to be something that you and I are going to celebrate tomorrow because it is directly relevant to us. So let's go back and revisit the story. The story I'm about to tell you, I have a sefer at home, which is got it is a collection of midrashim that there's different versions of the Yehuda story, just like there's different versions of the Chana and the seven sons story. It's another amazing, amazing story. This particular version goes as follows. Anyone who wants a copy of this version, I'm happy to send it to you. So here we go. She was the number one woman in Klal Yisrael. Everyone wanted to marry. Eventually, she finally met, I don't know, Shlomi from Lakewood, whatever it was, and it was a shidduch made in heaven. And before they knew it, they were going to have not just the wedding of the year, it's going to be the wedding of the century. The wedding of the century meant that everyone who was anyone was going to be there. All the paparazzi, all the beautiful people, all the Gedolim of the generation, all the various, I don't know, BBC and CNN and MMY and all the different news stations, they're all going to be there, one after the other. Everyone who's anyone is going to be at that wedding. They're going to talk forever and ever about the different on the men's side and the women, what they were wearing and all the stuff that they do at weddings. Maroon 5 would just like randomly come in and just play a song. It was going to be the wedding of the wedding. No, honestly, it was not appropriate. I apologize. I meant to say, Shreki and Yishai Rebo and Omar Adam and his chest, everything, right? Everything. They're all going to be there. And everyone's excited about this wedding. Everyone is excited about this wedding except for one person, and that is Yehudis herself. So Yehudis is a tzaddikus. Yehudis is a very, very chashuv lady. And this here I can be absolutely guaranteed, because without the story, you and I would not be here today. So Yehudis, because comes to the word, her name comes to the word Hodah, someone that lives constantly giving thanksgiving to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Yehudis was a tzanua, and Yehudis also knew something about the nature of evil. And here I want to say something very seriously. Evil is so powerful that you can get used to it. You just become used to evil. It's a horrible, horrible thing. My mother, Shalom, grew up in Germany in the 1930s. She got out 1 month before the war. I never heard anything from her, but her younger brother, my uncle, who actually, some of you from Baltimore may know his son, Rabbi Mordechai Frankel Shlita, from Baltimore. So father told me that you get used to evil. In the beginning, everyone had non-Jewish friends, and then one day they decide the Jews are no longer allowed to go, whatever, to the theater. Jews can't go to the zoo. Jews can't go to the circus. Jews can't go eventually to the parks, and then eventually Jews can't sit on the benches in the streets. And then finally, by the time they got to Jews cannot walk on the sidewalks, so every single non-Jewish kid their age knew that Jews were only half humans. The Jews were just someone that you could kill, like you're stepping on a cockroach. This is the way the evil works. You get used to things. So everyone was completely okay with the fact that that night she was not going to go to her husband. That night she was going to go to the local Greek commander. This is the Hegmon. They're called the Hegmon, right? The Hegmon was the local Greek commanders. They would have the woman on her wedding night. That was the Greek law. Now I want to make an interjection over here. You should know that the Greeks in general were, in terms of armies that invade, they considered themselves civilized. They did. They thought that they introduced civilization to the world. They introduced science, they introduced music, they introduced art, they introduced everything that we called Western civilization today. And they were capable of having every single girl they wanted. If they wanted to take advantage of the Jewish woman, they could just do so. It is a horrible thing for me to say, but that is the nature of world history. Invading armies are brutal. Invading armies are evil, especially what they do to the women. I don't want to talk about what happens to Simchas Torah. For two reasons. First of all, because I don't want to talk about it. And second, because every time I do, I start to cry when I think about these things. But the Greeks, this was not their agenda, just to take advantage. Their agenda was the wedding night. Why? And here I want to make my first point, which is also going to be my last point. The war between the Greeks and the Jews was not like the war between, let's say, Esav and the Jewish people in last week's parsha. Who runs the world? Is it the world? Is it the actions of Esav or the actions of Yaakov? No, 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 no. This was different. This was a war upstairs. This was a war between Kedusha and Tumah. And they knew that the centerpiece of the experience of Kedusha for the Jew is not the synagogue, it's not the shul, it's not the Beis Medrash. Those are the batteries. But the actual Kedusha itself is the Jewish home. They understood that Jewish home is the key to all of Kedusha. I would like to point out to you, many of you have heard this from me. Those of you that spoke to me one-on-one, I don't like to get into your business unless you want to share something specifically with me. I don't like to tell you what to do. I don't like to give you musr. I don't like to talk from to you, but I do, whenever I can, I will say to you the following thing with every fiber of my passion. And that is, I want every person in this room to get your house right. Okay, I don't care what you do with your lives. Get your house right. Get your marriage right. Make your marriage built in Kedusha. Get your home built in Kedusha. If you guys want to listen to non-Jewish music, so that's why you have your car where you can sneak in whatever 102.7 Rock on the River. Or that's why you go to Zumba, so you can fantasize that you are a Latino dancer from some video. Right? So you can do all these things. You have these options. But your home, ladies, you get your husband right. You marry a person that he works in his Kedusha, you work in your Kedusha, and the walls of your house will hit Shabbos mirror sitting here comes at a kadosh, and that which is spoken in your living room, which is like the heartbeat of your home, is kedusha kavachome, and more personal parts of the house. I want you to get your house right. You get your house right, you got your whole life right, you got your whole future right. But I want you to know that kedusha begins with one night. That's the wedding night. The wedding night is the centerpiece, not the centerpiece, the foundation block of the kedusha of your lives. On the wedding night, your husband's going to put a ring on you and say the words "Harriet Mekudesh Esli." Okay, the word kedusha is something that you guys are unique and special for each other. It's the two of you and nothing else exists. The two of you are going to build something that nothing has ever been seen like that before. In the words of the Gemara, a unique churba has been rebuilt, has been recreated. So get your home right. So now comes the problems, ladies, is that the Greeks knew that the foundation of all that is the wedding night. If they can ruin the wedding night, then they've won everything. First of all, two levels. First of all, your marriage begins without kedusha, and secondly, if they're fortunate, I'm talking about from the evil viewpoint of the Greeks. If they're fortunate, what happens next is that it could be that you get pregnant and they don't know who the father is, and then everything's gone wrong, and then everything has become the whole concept of the kedusha of Yehudis is destroyed, and the uniqueness of the Jewish people is destroyed. The Greeks were geniuses in their evil. They wanted to destroy the kedusha of the Jewish bias, and that's why tomorrow night I'm not lighting candles in my shul, and I'm not lighting candles in the Beis Medrash. Ner ish obeso. I want to light candles in my home. I want to light candles in the entrance to my home. As I come in with the mezuzah to my right, I'm going to have the menorah to my left, and I'm going to say to myself, I'm surrounded by my beautiful family. I'm going to look at my wife and my children, whoever's going to be there tomorrow night, and say, I built something. And I look at the mezuzah, and the mezuzah screams out that my home is different from any other home on the planet. It's a home filled with kedusha. I come in with the mezuzah has the Shema, and then I'm going to be looking at the menorah, and I'm going to say to myself the following words tomorrow night. There are things in life that are worth dying for. There are things that are so important that without that, life has no meaning. There are things that to be moser nefesh is because without Mesiras Nefesh, you have nothing that is truly, truly beautiful in life. And Yehudis knew this. And everyone else, all the other guests, all the hundreds and hundreds of guests, they were like, whatever, okay, let's just get used to the new reality. It is what it is. And Yehudis says, no, it's not, is what it is. I'll tell you something else that's shocking. It could be Yehudis. was such a genius, was such a, had so much kedusha in herself that she knew that in the year 2023, which is where we are now, that the average girl your age on a college campus will go to the local Greek commando, but this time it's not going to be some Greek commander. It's going to be the guy sitting next to you on a college campus. It's going to be whatever it is, whatever, and Rico from Cuba. If you're from whatever, it's going to be whatever it is. Richard, all right, from the Hamptons. If you are in Colombia, it doesn't make a difference. It happens to be that today you have this incredible victory for the Greeks, that most Jewish women voluntarily have given up their yichus. There has never been an era in history like today where there's been so much lack of kedusha and there's so much intermarriage. I don't want to say this because I really hope that everything changes, but I just spoke now to someone who runs a very, very famous care organization. I don't want to say it by name because being recorded. It's a care organization that all of you know. And I said to this guy, and he knew what I was right. And it killed me to say it. I don't say it with even like a drop of like, look at me, I'm right. Because I wish I wasn't right. But I said, you guys put millions and millions of dollars into your organization to Makari people. And let's be honest, what Hamas, Yamach Shimon Bezirchon did in one day achieve more Jewish awareness and Jewish consciousness than what you have done in the last 10 years. He couldn't argue with me. Because it's a Gemara in Megillah that says that the taking off the ring of Achashverosh and giving it over to Haman was more effective in waking up the Jewish people than all the Nevi'im and all the female and male Nevi'im, all of them together could not achieve with their prophecies what that moment did. I'm hoping that this narrative changes very quickly. But Yehudis saw it. Yehudis saw the power of the Greeks and how alluring their lifestyle was, and that Jewish boys and girls would go running to become assimilated and intermarried. And she also knew that she was a role model. All the young girls are saying, okay, Yehudis did it. I guess it's good enough for us as well. This is never acceptable. If you don't have the Kedusha of the Jewish home, you have nothing. Jewish people, she says, might as well give up. You've lost everything. The home is the centerpiece of the Jewish experience. The yeshiva and the Beis Medrash are the glorious batteries that provide energy to these places. At the end of the day, the centerpiece of Kedusha is our home. I'm just fast forwarding in the miracle of the Meohr. So the Medrash brings down, it says, the Chatzar says, according to one version, that every Chatzar was filled with light. And basically, so the light that happened in the Beis Hamikdash was through miraculously lit up all the Jewish homes at the same time to remind us that at the end of the day, it's the Jewish home, which is where the action is, where the world of action is happening. It is the heartbeat of the Jewish experience. And the woman is the center of that all. Now, you're not going to like what I'm about to say. I'm going to say it anyhow. I just want to apologize because it's a little bit, we in England say, excuse my French. I apologize. We have French girls in front. Whenever you want to say something so inappropriate, you always say, excuse my French. So in the moment I'm going to say, excuse my French. But I can't think any other way I said it. Last time I said this, and go back to, you realize I didn't understand what I was saying. I was going to say it explicitly. She's got to work fast. She's got to do something to create shock value. She has to do it in a way that no one's going to forget this moment, and that the world has to change. She wanted to create an earthquake in history that would reverberate until the end of time. So she did something, and she in front of everyone, excuse my French, she disrobed. And seconds later, you can imagine, the music stops, the dancing stops, everyone is like thing, and the Medrash says, everyone looked down, and the brothers looked down, and the brothers looked at each other, and they said the following thing: this woman, our sister, has embarrassed us, and we need to do what is right, and we have to kill her right now. And I want you to stop and think how this narrative is running out. If you think about what the papers are going to look like today, okay? Hey, wedding of the century, instead, the bride is killed by her brothers. That's what they wanted to do, to be able to give a little bit of cover to their family after what she had done. And they approached her to kill her. And as they approached her to kill her, she gives the speech of her lifetime. She says something so powerful, and she says something that literally, again, I have it written up over here. The speech should reverberate throughout the generations, especially in our where we're going through now. She said basically, "You want to kill me? I'm the bad guy over here. Where is the spirit of Shimon and Levi? Where is the spirit of those two brothers? They were prepared to give up everything. They were, I'll say, they were teens when they went out and they killed the whole city of Shem because they had dishonored, dishonored Dinah. And it doesn't just say that. She went on and said, and do you think it's about me? You think it's about my honor? No. Al Yichud Hashem, they were fighting for the unity of God's name. So I have to just explain what just happens. But the Jewish woman, she's different from the Jewish male. The Jewish woman is intrinsically kadosh. Her body is intrinsically kadosh. The Jewish woman represents the Jewish people, and the Jewish male represents the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and their union is what happened at Har Sinai. And the Holy Sfarim bring down that Abraham and Sarah, they stand at the gates of Garden of Eden, and the gates of Gehenna, and any Jewish boy, Jewish girl is being sent down there. They will fight for them. They will be their lawyers. They will try and get them out of there. On one condition, they have to the guy has to brit milah. But if the boy had relations with a non-Jewish woman, he loses the kedusha of the covenant. But a woman can never lose her kedusha. Sarah will always fight for you. Because a woman's guf is kadosh. That's why you guys have, with women teachers, there's so many discussions about tznius, and boys never talk about this topic, because you have the one that's called the Jewish, the koyach of your guf is what is the yichud of Hashem. It is the unity of God's name, which is the unity of God's name, is the harmony between the physical and spiritual. It's a little bit out of today's discussion. Let's go back to the story. She gives them this speech and says, what are you doing over here? Now you understand how ridiculous this was. These are 5 brothers. We're talking about the Greek army, the 5 brothers in the Greek army. Okay, so they had the Pirkei Kahuna. She said, you have 200 people to go with you. 200 people from the 5 Maccabees. It's exactly like saying, we're going to have million people to take on the United States Army. It made no sense. She fired them up, honestly. I just 2 nights ago, I was at the bar mitzvah of a grandson. This boy is my grandson's mother. It's my daughter Chava. She is my oldest daughter. So she has 2 older brothers. I remember saying to the 2 older brothers, obviously I'm biased, but Chava, I said, if any guy messes with your little sister, you do whatever it takes. I don't care. I'll get you out of prison. I will bail you guys out. But no one messes with a sister. This is what our family is built on. The honor of a sister. That is something that is enshrined in the family ethos. And this is Shimon and Levi did it for Dinah. And now she was saying, you guys should do it for me. Now imagine the scene. I'm a little bit embellishing, but you imagine the scene. These 5 brothers, their testosterone was now gone from 0 to 100. Their anger, their whole being completely riled up. And they went straight from the scene of the wedding, and they went straight to the place where the Hegmon lives. And those of you that know the reference of Godfather 2, when Corleone's son goes to avenge what was done to his father in Sicily, and they slice this guy up like a fish. And that's it. And that's how the Chanukah story began. That is how the story began according to this narrative. It began with the Kedusha of a Jewish woman, and it begins with a woman that compromises herself to the very end, the complete exact opposite of everything she was, because she knew that without the trust value, she's not going to get her brothers to be most beneficial, to give up everything on her behalf, and on behalf of every Jewish woman, and ultimately on behalf of Klal Yisrael, and ultimately on behalf of the Yichud of Hashem's name. Just 1 second. 5 more minutes, and then I'll take questions. So I want you to listen to this, ladies. This story, you always know, Ma'aseh is Simon Labanim. Ma'aseh, if anything that happens in history that is important, has its roots in the book of Genesis, in the book of Bereshis. So you already said that Shimon and Levi and Dinah, that is the Ma'aseh Simon Labanim of the Chanukah story. The Rebbe once went through the whole parsha with us and showed all the different parallels between that story and the stories that happened over there, a lot of things they have in common. But just before the story of Shimon and Levi and Dinah, Yaakov Avinu has a fight with the angel. And Rav Hutner says that this was not the same as Yaakov versus Esav. Yaakov versus Esav, that's the Purim story. Those are two physical people fighting it out. Yaakov and the angel is the Chanukah story. It is the war against Kedusha versus Tuma. What happened during that thing? He went for Pachim Katanim. According to one narrative, the Pachim Katanim was oil. There's also a Chanukah connection. And according to one story, that oil goes back all the way to Noach. And he sent the dove to Eretz Yisrael to come back with the Ali Zayas that was pressed into oil. Somehow made it to Yaakov. And from Yaakov, it made it all the way to Egypt, all the way to the Mishkan, all the way to the first place of Migdash, until Avinu was used in the Chanukah story. The book says those little things of oil were actually baby bottles, because children are everything. Children is the heartbeat of the Jewish home. And for children, you fight with. And for children, the angel of Asa says, I fight back. It's the Jewish future. And Yaakov Avinu was hit in the Gid Nasha. And the Zohar brings down the Gid Nasha, the sciatic nerve. It's just a euphemism for the place where children have come from, which means that the end of the night, which means the former field times, which is what we're going through now. Be where the Greeks had that great victory, where Jewish boys and girls willingly go to the Hegmon. And that's where Yaakov and Asa were having, Yaakov and the angel of Asa were having that fight all night long. In the morning, Yaakov turns to the angel of Asa and says, what's your name? So what does he answer? You guys know your Chumash? What are you asking my name for? I'm not going to tell you my name. Hello, Yaakov Avinu should say to him, I'm full with you all night long. You should tell me your name. By the way, girls have difficulty with this story because when girls fight, so they don't talk to each other for the next 16 years. But when guys fight the next morning, they're really like chilling. You want a beer? You know, that's what it is. That they hang out. They have no problem. What's your name? What's your name? What was he asking? You know exactly what he was asking. He says, your name is your essence. I want to know how to warn my children and my grandchildren for the next 3,000 years until Mashiach comes. How they can recognize angel that fights against Kedusha. And the angel answers, why are you asking my name? Why are you asking my name? Translation? What do you mean, why are you asking my name? My name will change constantly to whatever is necessary to get you just to assimilate into the Greek culture. I don't care how it works. 100 years ago, my name was communism. My name was socialism. My name was secular Zionism, all the isms of nationalism and thing. That's what Jewish boys and girls were running out of their Torah homes to run after. 1,000 years ago, when the Kuzari was written, when it was written with the Rambam, the Jews were attracted to the Kalam. The Kalam was some kind of a fusion of Islam and Greek philosophy. Today, we don't even know what these things are. But today, the name, I don't know what it is, but I'm guessing, okay? I don't know what the name is. I imagine it's something to do with this thing over here, okay? This is kosher, everyone, by the way. This thing over here, which manages to take girls your age and admit it. There are girls in this room this summer that would spend over 5 hours a day looking at this piece of silicon, okay? This piece of concrete sitting in a well of Greek dimion. 5 hours a day, you're all avoiding eye contact because we all know secretly it was much more than 5 hours. Oh my gosh. But I just wanted to know. So here I'm going. I want you to know, ladies, once upon a time it was Jews for Kalam. 100 years ago it was Jews for communism. Today, it's Jews for nothing. Today, today they have us exactly where they want us. Today, we live in a world where they have us so numb, so brain dead, so there's no passion for Kedusha. I want to finish off. I want to ask you all to join me with my vision that tomorrow night, you're not with your homes. In a few years, each one of you will have your home. And each one of you have your mezuzah. And each one of you have the menorah, and your husband the Pantera, and you're building something special. I want to give you this challenge that I don't care what you do with your lives, but you make sure, you jolly well make sure that you get your home right. Your home should be steeped with Kedusha. The wall should only listen to Kedusha. Now is the time for you to ask yourself, how can I get anything that's not Kadosh out of my life? Baby steps. Use your brain, not your emotion, how to get this done. Without anxiety. But if you don't do it now, don't wait until the future when it's going to happen, because it's never going to happen. And don't wait till the day after you're married to realize this is not the home that you wanted. I want you now. You got 8 days to think through what it means that you have a light that you're lighting, and that light is the light of Kedusha. It's the light that connects to the base of Migdash, which ultimately connects to the Jewish home, which has its roots in the oil that Yaakov Avinu was Meiser Nefesh for, that ultimately refers to the Aragonos from the beginning of creation, that hidden light, the hidden light that was hidden for 36 hours, corresponding to the 36 candles. So I want to go back how I started. I want to wish you a happy Hanukkah, but I want to wish you a happy, we love Hanukkah, but let's say, Hanukkah. I can't know how to say this properly, but this is the time when you are reflecting. You're 1/3 through your seminary year. This is the time where you have to start saying to yourself, Kedusha in my life, how is it going to look like? How can I work in this? How can I elevate it to the next level? And then when you build your Jewish home, you'll have absolutely everything that is truly beautiful, everything that is ultimately eternal, and your home will be a midrash ma'at of that base of that we're all waiting for. And your candles and my candles and all candles will come together to create that beautiful candle of the Oreganos as is revealed to us in Meohr Yameinu. Thank you for listening.